derived from the best principles, values, and standards of the global ethic. That's where concreteness and uncomfortableness for economic growth meet. But for all who are seeking fairness and justice, the global ethic and its consequences offer a powerful resource to brighten up our common future. Is a consensus for a global ethical framework possible? My brief answer, it is. But we have to work for it. We have to work hard for it. And who knows, one day they might be selling postcards in Berlin and Astana, and in New York and Beijing, and in Abuja and Sao Paulo, postcards bearing the cheerful motto, if all think of all, no one will be forgotten. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Very rich presentation. Thank you very much. I'd now like to turn to the only member of our panel who is in the corporate sector, the chairman and chief executive of ExxonMobil Corporation. He's also a Texan, so hopefully we can expect some straight talking. Mr. Tennyson, could you please give us your views on the state of the world, particularly with a view from an energy perspective? Thank you.
And I'll do that from here, since you have asked us to do so. I'm mindful of the time, so I'm going to be brief. I am grateful to President Nazarbayev for the invitation to address this forum. The 5th Astana Economic Forum, as has been noted by others, does come at an important time for the world. As recent events remind us, it is clear that the global economy continues to face challenges. These include, for many countries, sluggish growth, high unemployment, and high levels of sovereign debt. However, notwithstanding these immediate challenges confronting many economies around the world, I am optimistic about the long-term prospects for the global economy. It is the nature of the business that I work in that we must think of the world 10, 20, and 30 years out, and what its needs will be to fuel economies that will be functioning 10, 20, and 30 years from now. So I want to discuss some of the reasons for my optimism, share with you my business perspective on the importance of investment and innovation to growth, and suggest how government and business can each do their part to spur the economic transformation that benefits all nations. My optimism for the future is grounded in 2 global developments. The first is dynamic population growth. By the year 2040, experts project that the global population will have grown close to 25% over today's level, reaching nearly 8.7 billion people. With this growth, though, people the world over will turn to trade, transportation, education, and technology to raise their standards of living. This universal desire for a better life will drive the second transformative force, an extraordinary increase in economic growth and productivity. As part of our long-range outlook, ExxonMobil projects that the global economy is likely to double in its size between now and the year 2040. Meeting the needs and aspirations of a growing world will demand that business and industry invest and innovate as never before across all sectors of economic, scientific, and technological endeavor. Foremost among these endeavors is the challenge confronting the energy industry. The world will need reliable and affordable supplies of energy on a scale unprecedented in human history. In the year 2040, energy demand will be more than 10% higher than it is today. Fortunately, the world is endowed with sufficient and growing new sources of energy. For resource-owning nations, such as the Republic of Kazakhstan, the global demand for energy is an extraordinary opportunity. This nation's energy resources can help meet the global needs and spur economic growth, education, and opportunity here in Kazakhstan. The keys to achieving these goals will be investment, innovation, and cooperation. According to the International Energy Agency, the world will need to invest approximately $1.5 trillion every year on average between now and the year 2035 to meet future energy needs. Simply put, we will need to create technologies that unlock new supplies of energy and deliver new levels of energy efficiency to power global progress. Here in Kazakhstan, our industry is taking on new energy challenges in the Tengiz and Kashagan oil fields. Our investments with our national and international partners will help fuel growth, just as they are creating benefits for Kazakhstan in terms of training, jobs, which lead to expanding local capacity and technological advancement. And the same is true for other resource-owning nations. Government plays a critical role in the process of investment and innovation. Government establishes the climate and conditions within which industry invests and takes its business risk. Government can help by ensuring that legal, tax, and regulatory policies are stable and they are fair. When this framework is stable over the long term, it encourages the long-range thinking, the long-range planning, and the long-range investment that lead to projects and partnerships that maximize the value for all. Another important key policy principle that aids transformation is openness to international trade. Once borders and markets allow the free exchange of ideas and expertise, technological innovation and national content can develop rapidly. Finally, the advancement of every nation is most effective when lines of communication are open and dialogue between government officials and business leaders is clear and focused. In the decades ahead, the reason for optimism are clear. Dynamic population growth and human aspirations are set to transform the world's economy. They will also create new challenges for government and industry. But we can meet these challenges, I'm confident, and we must. By fulfilling our respective roles, government leaders and business can build on our collective strengths and secure that future that is required for all of the planet's inhabitants. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rex. We heard during the President's speech that he was talking about the need for reform of the world's currency system. So I would now like to turn to Mr. Min Zhu, Deputy Managing Director of the IMF, to give his perspectives on current challenges and perhaps also to give a comment on the new currency system that the President has advocated.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I also would like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. President for the invitation. And it's a great honor for me to attend this very distinguished forum, and a great honor for me to speak to this very distinguished audience. I would like to make a few points. I would like to share with you all views about the global economic situation and all views about the regional economic and financial situation as well, and what we can do to be helpful. The global economic and financial situation still facing serious challenges, although after 3.5 years crisis. The three issues, the first issue is the growth. The growth is slowing down. We forecast this year the global GDP growth rate probably will be 3.5%, lower than 4% last year. The second issue is the growth become more divergent. The advanced economy has a much slower growth rate. This year, 1.5%. European will run into a mild recession, lower than 2.2% last year for advanced economy. And emerging market rather have a strong growth this year, roughly 5.8%. And the last year, the emerging market also have a 6.8% GDP growth rate. So these two growth rates are diverging more and more now since the crisis started 3 years ago. This year is particularly important because end of this year, the emerging market and low-income country will account for more than 50% of the global GDP, although still PPP measure. It's the first time in modern history, the emerging market and low-income countries be able to account more than half of global GDP, which obviously is causing profound change because it's really changing global demand function. It's really shifting many fundamental issues in global financial and economic situations. For example, when emerging market and low-income countries account for 50% of global GDP, they account only 19% of global financial assets. So we expect to see massive capital flow will move away from advanced economy, move into the emerging market. Many things will happen. For example, the global manufacturing restructuring. For example, the global service sector restructuring as well. So this is a very pivotal time to see the growth change and the growth change in the pattern. But that's not all the story about the growth, because we're in a deleveraging process rather than normal process. The deleveraging is nothing but all against the growth. When you have a deleverage, the government has to cut, there's no money for stimulus. When you have a deleverage, the corporate have to make the balances, no money for investment. When you have a deleveraging, households have to save, not consumption. When you have a deleveraging, banking will lend less. So all they were against the growth. So what we'll see, the whole world will run into a moderate growth period in near terms. I think that's the very important background for all of us and for all of you here today. The second issue is the debt. The debt is still way high. Although we have a lot of austerity programs going on here, but we forecast, for example, in the advanced economy, the debt ratio is still on the upside, not on the downside. The debt ratio to GDP will not be able to stabilize until year 2016. At that time, the debt to GDP ratio could be as high as 116%. That's not all the stories. Does household debt ratio still way high and it drop a little bit? Not that much. The banking debt ratio still way high, and the corporate debt ratio reduced in many Fortune 500 big companies, but not all of them. So the whole world have rather high debt. Reduce the debt is a long-term structure issue. Will take more effort in coming years. The third issue is financial stability is not warranted yet. The market stabilized a little bit since November last year, given the European policy, particularly ECB policy, but volatile again in the past months. We see the volatility in the sovereign market. We see the volatility in particularly in banking sector as well. We see the oil price is very volatile and the food price volatility increase as well. And we observe the capital flow become ever volatile. So there's still a lot of volatility in financial markets as well. So add them together. Yes, we still have a growth, but we're still facing tremendous challenges today to the global financial and economic situation. Now the second point to the region. The region weathered the crisis quite well in the past few years. Last year, for example, the regional oil export country be able to reach the growth rate 6.6%, and non-oil export countries be able to reach a growth rate 6.1%, which is very good. Kazakhstan lead by having a 7.5% GDP growth rate last year, as the President mentioned, and this year we forecast will have 6% GDP growth rate, which is very strong. And the region carry out diversification, which really making progress because the region have to diversify to balance between the oil sector and the non-oil sector. We observe the progress here. For example, in Kazakhstan, last year, the non-oil sector growth rate is 6.2%, which is very strong and very good. the region is still facing tremendous challenges